pleasure to be here. I think basically what happened for the Republican side is that for years, the Republicans have been telling their conservative voters who put them in office that they needed the House, and then they gave them the House, and then they needed the Senate, and then we gave them the Senate. And then they basically let President Obama, run his liberal agenda. And I think they feel like they've been lied to. And then I think for people that are Democrats that normally would support Mrs. Clinton, I think they basically have Clinton fatigue. The 30 years of all the scandals from when her husband was president. There was approximately 19 scandals. And I talk about this in my book, Crisis of Character. There were 19 scandals in his 8 years as president. And I think people are just burnt out with all the things that have happened. When she was Secretary of State with the incident in Benghazi, Libya, and then with the email server, the not securing classified emails, I think people are just burnt out.
But polls suggest Hillary Clinton has won the second presidential debate. You don't think that Hillary is fit to be president, and the reason is her bad character. But it was Donald Trump's flaring temper that actually seemed to have cost him the debate. Is it any wonder Hillary is leading in the polls?
Well, from my perspective, what I experienced in the 8 years that I protected them, and the inside information that I've seen while I protected them, the Clintons, both former President Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Mrs. Clinton, they basically run their campaign by throwing lies and accusations at the other candidate. She's not really running on her record because she can't. So she has to rely on that the person that she's running against has flaws. And every human being has flaws. And I think this is what you're seeing. That's certainly what I believe I'm seeing.
So emails released by WikiLeaks show that Clinton campaign and the Democratic Party helped prop up Trump as the Republican nominee because they thought he'd be the easiest one to beat. But Trump is now not that far behind Hillary in the polls. The Democrats bet on the wrong horse?
I'm not sure. I have heard those things, and I do see certain scenarios like that. In the very beginning, when Mr. Trump was thinking about running, you heard rumors that the Democrats wanted him to run because they felt that he was so flawed, or that the Democrats wanted him to run because Republicans didn't want him in office because he wasn't a standard or a normal Republican or conservative. And the truth is, one of the reasons people want to support Mr. Trump is because he gave them a vision. He's given them a vision of that fits into how they want America to be run. And that's one of the reasons he's doing as well as he is. And I do believe he's probably doing, my experience in American politics is he's probably doing a little bit better than they're actually talking about.
Well, Clinton's been accused of skirting transparency laws by using her private email for government matters. The FBI didn't find ground for criminal charges in the Clintons' personal email scandal. Why do you think they let this go?
Yeah, well, what I heard the FBI director say was that if it was anybody else, if it was me when I was still working for the government, I would have been prosecuted and jailed. He basically let her go. And I don't know what the reason is, but what he did say, the FBI director did say, he said that Hillary Clinton lied to the American people 5 times, and that she was either incompetent or stupid. Nobody could have possibly had the experience that she supposedly has as First Lady, 8 years as a senator, and then Secretary of State, and not know how important it is to follow the classified information laws that we have. In the U.S. government, it is unbelievable how detailed it is when you first start handling this information. There are rules for everything. And the fact that she didn't know them just leads you to believe that she's totally incompetent.
So someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton. Well, Trump actually said that if he's in charge, he'd investigate Clinton and put her to jail. Do you think he'd go for it?
Yes, I think he should. I think that's what a president is supposed to do. Listen, don't try to find something that's not there. But based on what we know now, there is something there. You have to understand this. At one point, it was so crazy when she was Secretary of State that her employees were running around behind her, crushing cell phones and Blackberries with hammers because they knew she was putting classified information on it. That has to be looked at. That's not the way human beings act anywhere, in our government or yours. You just can't keep destroying information because your boss, or devices, because your boss is too stupid or lazy to follow the procedures. And I detail other similar things like this in my book, Crisis of Character, when her husband was president and she was first lady, where people were so afraid to tell her what the truth was because they knew that she would demand that they be fired, and she'd scream and yell at them.
We're going to get to your book a bit later, but you said he should go for jailing her, but do you think he will, or is it just a presidential campaign thing that he's doing to gain some points?
No, not. Listen, he shouldn't go to jail. Or what he should do is have it investigated. Have the FBI investigate it like they do anybody else. Find out what the facts are, and then act on those facts.
Now, on another topic, some other Clinton emails revealed Hillary and Bill may have been doing favors for their Clinton Foundation donors while in office. Donors include the likes of rich Gulf monarchies, oil companies. So if Hillary becomes president, are we to expect any rich company or state to just buy their way into American politics?
Yeah, I think they already have, to be honest with you. It's hard not to at least think it looks shady or dirty. They set up this foundation, and in a couple of years, they've got $200 million. And a lot of these donors are foreign countries. And some of these foreign countries, the way they treat their people and their citizens is completely the opposite of what American values are. And you wonder why the Clintons would take this money from them. Now, they say it's for charities, which I get, but only a small portion, 10% or less, goes to these actual charities. It certainly gives you the idea that they're doing something wrong, and it is something that should be looked at.
Has promised to put her husband Bill in charge of the economy if she gets elected. Is this campaign entirely her own, or is it going to be Bill's third term as well as Hillary's first?
Yeah, that's a concern for sure, and it's certainly a concern of mine. So here's my first question when I heard that. If Mrs. Clinton brings Bill Clinton back to the White House, what steps is she going to take to protect the young women that work in the White House? We all know what he was accused of, and I know what he did before with these young women that work there. As far as it goes, as far as politics, if she's such a great leader, if we're supposed to trust in her, why does she need her husband to run the economy? She's supposed to be this top of the line leader that everybody swears up and down that she's the most qualified person. It's just another example of they're trying to distract you. She says that she's going to bring her husband back because she knows there's a pretty good sized population of people in the United States that did like her husband, and they like some of the things that he did, supposedly, other than the issues with women. And that's who she's trying to bring in to get herself in the office. And who knows what the truth will be, because everything out of their mouth, in my opinion and my experience, is a lie. Well, I think part of the issue is, or the main issue is, that he's not a typical politician. Donald Trump was a businessman for over 30 years, and he had an incredible reputation. I live only about 3 hours from New York and an hour from Atlantic City, where he did a lot of his construction and building. And I never heard a bad thing about the man or his organization until he started to run against Mrs. Clinton. And I think what they're afraid of, Republicans are afraid of getting somebody in there that won't keep their normal agenda. This is a guy who's very popular, and the American people are tired of being lied to by politicians. So a good portion of our country wants to give Donald Trump a chance. And I think when it comes to the Democratic side, of course, he's the Republican, so no matter what he says, they're trying to tear him apart. And again, they've done a pretty good job of it. I never heard a bad thing about the guy, and I actually worked with people that worked for him years ago, and they never had a bad thing to say about him or his organization. They actually had very nice things to say. And up until the time that he started running against Hillary Clinton, then all of a sudden, he's this evil person. And it's just not true.
To sue the New York Times over a report which alleges Trump sexually harassed two women, with one of the stories dating back 30 years. Do you think he has grounds to go ahead with the legal action?
I don't know actually, Sophie. I don't know what all the details are, but I did hear the report that I have heard what you just stated. So I'm not really sure how he'll go forward with that.
So, in response to this sex talk tape, which revealed Trump's aggressive comments about women, the Republican nominee branded Bill Clinton a predator and staged a media event with women who accused the former president of sexually assaulting them. It's really Hillary who is running for president. What does she have to do with it?
Well, here's what she has to do with it, and I detail this in my book, Crisis of Character. All the women through their whole time together that have accused Bill of doing something wrong, she has attacked them. She goes forward and she slut shames these women. She has people go, and it's been documented that she actually hired security people to go and harass these people and try to scare them from telling their stories about her husband allegedly assaulting them or raping them. And so she is somebody who is basically enabling an enabler. She's allowing her husband to live like this for years and never letting the truth come out.
So you're
and
saying
she's
basically covering up for Bill instead of being mad and furious.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But did she not care that her husband was cheating on her?
You know what? My experience, and I talk about this in the book, is that I think that they made an agreement. Let me put it to you this way. What I saw when I protected them is not the way my parents acted towards each other and towards us, and it's not the way we raise our kids, my wife and I. So they have a different relationship, and it's almost like it's a partnership. She has this incredible lust for power, but because she's such a flawed human being and she has such a hard time connecting with people normally, that she needs somebody like her husband. And understand this, Bill Clinton is charismatic. He is so smooth talking. I've been in his presence many, many times and seen him, introduce himself to people who typically wouldn't like him or his politics, but after 30 seconds, they look like they're looking at their favorite actor or actress. They get so enamored and they're so happy to be in his presence, where 15 minutes ago they couldn't stand the sight of him. So she needs his charm. So they will always be a partnership. And that's the only way. If she does end up winning the election, it'll be because of his charm, not hers, that's for sure.
So what's the extreme that she has gone to actually cover up for him? You said she threatened all the women that were involved with him. What was she capable of doing to them except just threatening them or sending Secret Service to scare them?
Well, no. Let me clarify something. She has never, to my knowledge, sent the Secret Service to do anything like that. She's hired private security people, allegedly hired private security people outside of the government. The Secret Service or no government agency that I know of has ever threatened any of these women. It's been somebody that she hired. One of her former co-workers, Dick Morris, tells elaborate detail about the private security force that she hired of former police officers to go and harass these women. The one woman, somebody ended up murdering her cat and leaving it on her doorstep. That was Kathleen Willy. There's been many examples of this. And I saw similar things in my time there as far as putting soft pressure or soft intimidation on people, including some of my coworkers in the Secret Service. So this has been well documented. This is the way these people work. They do nothing honestly. They do everything like a criminal element. And it's been documented very clearly throughout their history.
But